being held of a lot of people. Oh, I was naked. I was wearing only trousers. They pulled on my dress. I saw a crowd of people, more than 20,000 people. I looked my left, right, everywhere. People were shouting, crying everywhere. Some was praising God. Some was crying. I was looking around. I couldn't understand what was happening. Because to me, I was falling down and I fell into pit. And to me, when I opened my eyes, I saw all hands was grabbing me. They said to me that I jumped up. I saw this big cathedral. It's a very big cathedral. I looked by my right, my left, my front and my back. Everywhere was full of people. Some people were shouting, some were saying coffin, some say mortuary, some say 3 days. I couldn't understand what was happening because my experience there is not more than 15 minutes. So I don't know what they call about 3 days. To me, there was no night, there was no day. It was only that moment I was into. And this is the death certificate, you know. While I left the ambulance, they still went to the hospital. So the doctor now confirmed that I have died. They now use their equipment, check, according to, you can see, they check the heartbeats, everything, the eye pupil, everything, according to the doctor. After checking everything, he now confirmed that I was totally dead. He now gave them certificate that they should remove me. You can see it here, say, remove for mortuary.
For sure. Well, first of all, their spirit leaves their bodies. And then not always, but very commonly, they meet Jesus Christ. They describe him as nearly 6 foot tall, but radiating light, tremendous amount of light coming from him. From his face and from his chest and from his arms and from his legs. Many people describe he's still dressed in the clothes appropriate to a Jewish rabbi. Of course, Jesus was a Jewish rabbi. And he has a golden sash around his waist. Many people, as they come close to, in their minds come these words, "You're in the presence of the Son of God." And at that point, many people get down and start to worship Jesus Christ. And at that point they realize he's still got holes in his hands and in his feet, because they're quite close to his feet by then, and they realize that those crucifixion holes are still there. But people, it isn't just the appearance of Jesus, it's the fact that they feel in the presence of so much love. Many people said they've never felt like that. They've never felt so completely surrounded by love, powerful as that. It's just incredible love. I mean, for example, some of the people I've interviewed have been hardened Second World War soldiers. I mean, these are, you know, tough guys. And they started to cry as they described coming to the presence of Jesus. Amazing, really. Mm. And then, of course, after that, people either go to heaven, not invariably, but many, either go to heaven or go to hell. Now, let's talk about the nice place. In heaven, first of all, they find themselves in their spirit bodies. They're looking down and they're looking at bright white hands and bright white feet. In fact, the whole body is bright and light and white. They're in different bodies. They feel young, they feel rejuvenated, they feel fully in control of all their senses. And yet, for example, Dr. Eby, he described, he said that his sort of reasoning power was greatly increased. His thought processes were much more powerful. He could see much further. He could hear much more. His hearing was much more powerful. His whole body was just a much better upgrade model, if you like. But then what do they see? Well, first of all, they often describe walking either on streets of transparent gold, as it says in Revelation 21, or walking in fields of flowers, but these flowers are radiating light. Light comes from the trees and the flowers and the grass. And there's not only light coming from the trees and the flowers and the grass, but music as well. And here's an amazing thing. Many, many people have said, Richard, it's an extraordinary thing, which you can see music in heaven. Now, I can't explain that. I just can't explain that, but they say you can see the music in heaven. And then they say there's no sun there, but light just comes from the trees and the flowers and the grass. People have seen the river of life. Some people have seen the throne of God, that's God the Father, which is very big actually. It's, many people have said it's up to 3 stories high. And there's a rainbow over the throne, just like it says in the scriptures. Many people have seen this great lake in front of the throne, and people have seen crowds and crowds of people around the throne of God, all praising God. And remember, you can see the music. Now, people have been transported around different parts of heaven. We tend to think of heaven as a place. It's a huge, huge place. It's huge. It's massive. It's outside time, which is difficult for us to comprehend. But another thing is people can travel to different parts of heaven instantaneously. People have looked up to mountains and said, I'd like to be there, and they would instantly be there. People have met their angels, their personal angels. Psalm 91 says we have our own personal angels, and many, many people have seen their own personal angels. It's amazing. It's absolutely... And, one woman I'm thinking of met her own child in heaven. This little girl, she was only 10, she was killed by a truck or a lorry. This was in the States, and when she got to heaven, there's this little child playing in a beautiful garden. And she was ecstatically happy, playing with a lot of other children as well. And in fact, this particular lady said to the little girl, wouldn't you like to come back to Earth? And she said, well, Jesus said I could, but actually it was such fun here, I decided to stay here. So there we are. So that's heaven. Heaven is just dramatic. In fact, you can always tell when people have been to heaven, because they're just yearning to go back. Most of the people who I've met who've really seen heaven just wanted to be there.
Is the experience then purely subjective? Some experts believe not. Dr. Richard Kent, a retired medical doctor, has travelled the world studying the NDE phenomenon over many years and has written several books on the subject. Of the 300 case studies he has made, an alarming amount report not only the existence of a heavenly afterlife reality, but also a hellish one.
A place called hell. And they describe it's an absolutely terrible and awful place. Now, I don't know what it's like in South Africa, but in England, many churches don't talk about hell very much. I don't know why. Jesus spoke about hell a great deal. He said it's a place to be avoided. Anyway, they describe hell as somewhere as dark and oppressive. They also were told in the scriptures where it is. It's in the centre of the earth. Now people say, well, where do you get that from? Well, it's in the scriptures. Matthew 12 is verses 40 and 41, I believe. Jesus says, I'll give you the sign of Jonah. Just as Jonah was in the belly of a great fish for 3 days and for 3 nights, so shall the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth for 3 days and for 3 nights. Now Jesus talked about hell, or the place of the departed spirits at the time of Jesus, being in the heart of the earth. All right? So it's somewhere in the heart of this planet, I believe. Now, for example, in the Old Testament, the spirit of Samuel came up from Sheol, the Old Testament hell, and the sons of Korah went down to Sheol, the Old Testament hell. We're told in the book of Ephesians that one day every knee will bow, those above the earth, those on the earth, and those under the earth. So I believe it's somewhere down there. Now, they describe it as very hot, it's very unpleasant. There are demons there who are tormenting the people who go there. It says in the scriptures that Lazarus was in torment. It's just a horrendous, awful place. It's a place where people are terrified, are frightened, and people even who've seen hell, even years later, they recoil in horror at what they saw there. Just a place of awfulness. People have seen Satan there. People have actually had conversations with Satan. People have had conversations with demons there. People have heard the demons swear. They said they never